Thank you very much for this opportunity. I think my name has been adversely mentioned here, and I'm glad to get this opportunity at least for you to see my face. My name is Richard Kipngeno. I am the Birding and Membership Officer from Nature Kenya, and we work together with the team in delivering the successful webinar that Angela will give us a brief on. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Richard. My name is Angela Mecha, sorry, and I'm currently the Membership Marketing and Communications Manager at Nature Kenya. And what we do is centered around conservation and restoration. And our key focus is just ensuring that biodiversity is preserved. And we believe our study, as he mentioned, he is our birding officer. So we do a lot of birding, and most of our research is around birds because we believe, as small as they are and as delicate as they are a very good indicator for a healthy ecosystem. And what that also indicates is that if tiniest of humanity, if tiniest of organisms can exist in an ecosystem, then we can tell that that is a good ecosystem, that is a good area for any other animal to exist. And that is where the relevance comes in terms of, so we are celebrating primates today. And we are looking at what are the threats towards primates in our country and of course globally. And key to that, we are looking at biodiversity loss. These primates or any other animal, insect, plant cannot survive in isolation. And that is why we have come up with systems in our organization that are going to look at how then are we going to start restoring these different ecosystems, restoring these wetlands, woodlands, different areas where we are focusing on that are going to help us restore the normalcy for these animals to thrive. And I looked at some of the topics that were being discussed. I'll just go through them very fast. I won't go into detail, but I'll invite you to come and visit our website. There's a link to all the talks that we've had, including this one which I had 2 days ago, so that you're able to go back and revisit and look at what were being presented and what are the challenges and how can you be part of a solution. So remember, our main presentation was done by Dr. Nancy Moinde from IPR. And she was discussing a topic about primate diversity, conservation status, challenges and opportunities in primate conservation in Kenya. And that's of course like a key thing that we need to look at. And while we are discussing all this, it means that we are all key players in bringing all these challenges to light, and beyond that, providing the solutions on how we are going to make sure that there's going to be sustainability in the projects that we are running. That was followed by a panel discussion that was done about by Dr. Kimberly Hawkins, who was discussing people, culture, and primate conservation. Again, you start seeing that there's repetition in terms of what are we doing in that space of conservation. And it so happens that the way the world is set up, as human beings are probably the only ones who can do something about it. The animals cannot do anything. All they can do is try to survive. But it's a responsibility that we can take on in a big way. So then, of course, you can go back and watch that and just try to see what is she addressing in that area. The next panelist was Marcia Akinyi from IPR, well represented, discussing primates, climate change, and disease in the context of One Health approach. And I believe that is around research on health and how primates are a key feature in us identifying disease, right? And also, it also goes to speak to the close correlation between humans and primates, because if you look at the DNA structures and the human structure, it's the closest we can get to. And I've seen in the past, you've done a lot of animal testing, which I think is now being abolished. But then we also need to look at, while we are doing that, like how are these interventions going to help us in solving the health issues around our country and globally. Then we went on to have Pamela Cunningworth, who was discussing conserving Africa's forgotten primates in suburban Kenya. That again is very informative in terms of what are we losing in that taxa. There are so many species within the primate taxonomy that are constantly going, I don't know, they're going extinct, and I don't think people have that knowledge. And I think it's very important for beyond just us who are interested in conservation in specific areas that you're working in. I think it's important for us to get the information out beyond just our small circle, yeah? Just so that we can get a lot more people interested and hopefully get them young. So while you're having these conversations out here or you're getting this information, I'm hoping you're passing it on to the younger generation. You're engaging them so that they can start understanding that, especially as we're living in the urban areas and suburban areas, the things, our lifestyles, how are those affecting the animals around us? I remember being a young girl and my brothers used to chase monkeys with those slings. I'm suspecting most of the men here have done that and a lot of other women. But yes, there is the habits that we are teaching our children and some of the things that we did as young people. How has that now affected the population of primates and other animals in our environment? And obviously plants are also affected, plants, insects, the whole range of biodiversity. We had Dr. Stanislaus Kivai, also from IPR, who was discussing primate extinction as a crisis in Kenya. And sometimes when you tell people that we are doing interventions to preserve primates, to preserve monkeys, people look at you like, why monkeys? You know. So again, it's areas which you also need to start demystifying. I live in Parklands, and it's just right next to the city park. And we have monkeys coming into people's apartments. And there's been cases of, violence. People beat them, throw things at them, and sometimes they retaliate. We've had a few incidences where, unfortunately, maybe they get poisoned as a way of people getting rid of them. We also start to look at that. What effect is that going to have? Of course, what it has that done in the past, and obviously what's going to happen in 20, 30 years if we continue with such kinds of patterns. So to reduce the risk of extinction, what are the interventions that we can get into? The last one was done by Dr. Omar Mohammed from Wildlife Research and Training Institute, and he was discussing interventions required to halt primate extinction crisis. So obviously it's information that is very pertinent, and from where we stand as Nature Kenya, one of the things that we do centered around the pillar of species and habitats is we are trying to see, first of all, how can we restore these different habitats so that all the other species can live in harmony? And obviously, how then do we reduce human conflict with animals? Yeah, and some of the interventions that we've gone to, into the spaces that we have gone to, as much as we focus on birds, we have seen like even the interventions, the projects we're doing in like the Tana Delta are starting to show results in terms of when you go out there and you're doing your bird counts and you're doing bird monitoring. There's also now, we start noticing there's a lot more other animals, other plants, fauna that are also starting to thrive from the aspect, like from the work that has been done. And that goes to speak to the fact that there's opportunities for partnerships. We cannot work in isolation. So if there's people working in birds and mammals and primates and people working in the area of fish, we have so many committees under Nature Kenya. You can join the bird committee, mammals committee, we have plant committee, we have succulents. There is a whole range. People are discussing fish, wetlands, because all these things build up to a healthy ecosystem. So you're welcome. We have opportunities for partnership. We love partnering with as many people as possible because we do not have all the knowledge that is needed. But then in the works that we are doing, we need people who have knowledge, people who have skills like you, who can come on board and we can partner and just make sure we are putting this conservation message out there. So we have a desk over there. Part of what we're doing is raising funds to support all the conservation work that we do. So welcome to visit our table. You can buy some merchandise. It will directly go into conservation. And also join our membership, take part in the talks. We want that information so that we can disseminate it out there widely. We have a following of over 30,000 online. And I believe if you put together the following for NEMA, for KWS, for Karura Forest, for IPR, for Nature Kenya, that is over 1 million in followership. That is information we need to disseminate so that they understand the value of a monkey. They understand the value of a bird. They understand the value of insects. even just the grass that we're stepping on. So come on board. Let's open up those conversations. Let's see the areas where we can work together in intervention. Let's raise funds and support each other. I'm certain there's also funds you probably have out there which you want to put into research, partner with other organizations. Let's get the work done. But more importantly, let's take ownership of conserving the biodiversity that is in our country. Thank you for this opportunity.